I love you. Thank you. I have a very special guest this morning. It was worth getting up. It's early in the morning. Hi, Bill.
It's so wonderful to be, you make me smile. People say all the time I don't smile. Well, you make me
really?
smile, so thank you for making me smile. And I love your scarf because are those piano keys?
Yes, they are. You can't play on this, though.
But it's wonderful to be here. I've wanted to be here. I think your show, as I've said to you before, is a staple of the community. I mean, you're drawn to the screen because of your presence. So I thank you for doing everything you do for the community.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I have you here especially this morning because pretty soon it's going to be election day, and you're running for something. 1 week away.
1 week away. It would be my second term. It's my third term of running. I ran in 2007 and lost by 104 votes.
Wow.
And so we ran again in 2009. Had some great support from the community, and it's been a tough 2 years because of the financial situation that the town was in. But we had a lot of cooperation, especially from the residents, on making certain sacrifices and at the same time understanding that we were in financial distress and had to do some things quickly in order to for the town to survive, let's say. One time people were talking when I first came in of bankruptcy for the town, and you went to a bankruptcy action. It means that a lot of the local people that work for the town or support the town through their services wouldn't necessarily be on the top list of getting paid. So whatever we had to do to get around that, we did. And I thank God for the board members that we have to help us out. People like Teresa Quigley and Dominic Stanzione, who's a great admirer of yours. I thank the management that were operating the town, that came together and understood what we had to do. We had 3 major unions that we did long-term contracts with: the PBA, the dispatchers, and the CSEA. And all those in some way sacrificed so that the town could rebuild and retool. And now, as we right the ship, it was pretty close to sinking. As we right the ship, we can now start getting back onto the important things and building this community back up again.
So you were saying that you are running, and no wonder you're in such a good shape. You're running a lot.
Yes. In one way or another, you're absolutely either the stress takes it off, or maybe it's a lack of exercise. Maybe I've developed a new fitness regimen.
No,
just run for office and see how you can shed the pounds.
Yeah, that's always good for the health, one way or another.
Yeah, it is.
So, Bill, where are you from?
Well, I tell the story that my mom, who passed away last year at 103, born and raised in Southampton. She and my dad, after the World War II, bought 11 lots in Montauk. It was called the New York Mirror Development because it was if you remember, there was an old newspaper called the New York Mirror, the Daily Mirror.
Oh, I remember the Mirror, yes.
And on the back of that, they advertised these properties in Montauk for $100 a lot. And they bought that property in 1948, and then in 49, they put up this little bungalow on top of the hill. And my mom said to my dad one day in September of 1949, that you better get us into New Rochelle Hospital because I'm going to have this baby. And I said, Mom, I was within 4 hours of being local.
Oh, yes.
I said, how could you do that? Not knowing. But so we had the house all my life. I grew up in the Bronx. My mom, as I said, was from out here, and so it compelled us to come out here on practically every weekend, except maybe in the heart of winter, because we would drain the house at that time so the pipes wouldn't freeze.
Yes, that's what you
we
need
didn't have
to
any
do.
heat. But every other available opportunity, we'd come out here. And then I spent, as a kid, my summers out here. Um, Started caddying at the golf course when I was probably 12 or 13. And then I worked at the Vinnie Grimes, had a mobile station in Montauk, and I worked for him for 3 summers. And then I came back and worked for Land Golf, which was a golf company that was reconverting or converting the old Montauk private club into a state-of-the-art country club, let's say, at that time. And I worked 3 years for them, and then it was on to the military and then on to my career. So, but every year, except for when I was in the military, I'd be coming back to Montauk because it was my, at that time, second home, but a home that I spent a good part of my year in. About maybe 20 years ago, I said to my mom, I said, I want to keep this house in our family, and you live here forever. You stay here, I'll take care of everything. I happen to be going out soon thereafter out to California anyway because I was working for the Walt Disney Company.
You were?
Yeah, I ran what they call Human Resources and Labor Relations worldwide for all Disney, all 130,000 employees. So I worked for an individual by the name of Michael Eisner out there in Disney, and even then we made sure that we came back here during the summertime. So it's been my home. Relocated finally in 2005 permanently out here, and then started seeing some things in government that I didn't care for and thought they could be run differently, and thought the residents of the town would be better off with a different approach, and that's why I ran for politics. I had a person, 2 people that were very, very important mentors to me in my life. There was an individual by the name of Tom Murphy who ran this company called Capital Cities Communications, which had bought ABC, and a person by the name of Dan Burke, who just passed away last week, who was former chairman of Presbyterian Hospital, Columbia Presbyterian, New York, chairman emeritus of Columbia Presbyterian, but ran as the president of this Capital Cities Communications. And they said, they made it very, very important as part of the value system. If you're going to profit from a community, you give back to the community. So volunteer programs were a critical part of that community, of that value system for that company. As I went on to Disney, who brands everything, you know, Disney had what they call volunteers, you know, the Mickey ears, so volunteers. Yes. So it's just been an important part of my belief system that you have to give back, and certainly there are a bunch of board members, Dominic, Teresa, that have been giving back a lot to the community for the last couple of years.
I think it's important to give back.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
not many people do that.
And community is sometimes mistaken as the electorate or the party that's in. The community is this town of East Hampton. How do we preserve this bucolic atmosphere that we have out here, this beauty that we have out here? Mm-hmm. How do we preserve the middle class, which is we haven't been preserving very, very well, and that requires jobs, and it requires affordable housing and things of that nature. How do we preserve the things that are critical to our history, fishing, the fishing industry? How do we preserve the baymen? How do we preserve the farmers, and ensure that whatever we do and whatever businesses we entertain, we make sure that we have priorities for the fishing and the farmers in this town. So it's a challenge, and now that we've gotten over this, well, through a lot of the hump of the financial crisis, I think we have to focus a lot more on that in the future.
Well, you have done so many different things, so you have a lot of experience in different areas. I think that's important, to be a well-rounded person, that you didn't just stick to one thing in your life. You've been with Disney, and you're also a musician.
Well, you know, I'm looking at this keyboard that you wear so well around your neck, and I keep having these flashbacks of my mom was an accomplished musician. She was born and raised in Southampton, but went to Crane School of Music in New York for her master's, and which was unheard of at that time for women to be so educated as well.
Yes.
My sister was, she was offered scholarships at Juilliard. She went on to the American Guild of Organists. She was just a very accomplished piano and player as well as organist. Performed for presidents and things of that like. My mother, I remember trying to teach me piano. And she farmed me out to, I'll never forget, to Mrs. Cardone. And Mrs. Cardone, I'd go to see Mrs. Cardone, and as I may have said to you at one time, if the ruler came across my knuckles once, it came across 1,000 times because my fingers weren't curved properly. I can still play a little by ear. I mean, there is that ability to translate some of that. Nothing like yourself or my mom or my sister who my wife used to have a thrill coming down to Montauk, and we'd have a baby grand in the house, and I think my mom and my wife would have a glass of wine, and all of a sudden the songs would start coming out, and so I'd fall asleep to those two caroling out in the living room. Whatever song came to mind, my mom would play it, and my wife would sing along with it. So they were very, very formative and enjoyable moments. Music is a big part of our background, and it's an important part for this community as well. And I've seen by your guests how important it is that we continue the arts out here, that we continue music out here, that we promote it as much as possible, and not only with musicians, but with artists and writers, try to provide facilities that you can use your craft and practice your craft and display your craft and have people enjoy your craft.
Oh yeah, a lot of artists would be happy to listen to you.
Yeah, we're trying to do that. You know, we made that a priority, and we had two facilities that we're trying to work on. One was a CPF purchase of a house with just a great art barn attached to it, and another was the Boys Harbor facility that we have down in East Hampton, and it's a large CPF acquisition, and we retained a building. You know, a lot of the times for open space, you tear down these buildings and keep it open.
Yes.
But we're going to retain a building for the artist community, and we've been working with the Writers and Artists group in East Hampton to try to see if we can modify that so that they have a place to work and they have a place to share and conspire together, because artists feed on each other.
I will be the first one to use it.
Do you paint as well?
No, I don't paint. I write.
You write.
I write plays, and we're looking for a place to do it in.
Yeah, I think we have to bring that back a little more, and it's because it's such an important historical part of the community as well.
Yes.
That so many writers, so many artists came out here, either because the environment or the atmosphere that was conducive to them and their craft.
Escape the hustle and bustle in the city.
Yeah,
It's very peaceful.
Just from an art point of view, you know, you learn. I obviously grew up in Montauk, but you look at certain spots like in Accabonac and the Springs, and the colors are just
beautiful,
incredible. Now I know what drew Jackson Pollock to that area, because I mean, where do you see that? I mean, the colors are just incredible.
And anyone in your family is a politician like you are?
No, they're all smart.
So you're the only one who got the bug?
I'm the only one that veered that way. You know, my father was a fairly accomplished criminal lawyer. He went to the Supreme Court of the United States 3 times on significant one landmark case. The others, no. I did it. I think, again, if I was inspired by these leaders that said you have to, as part of your life, give back and ensure that you are at least giving your brain power to the community. We've done a lot of that. You know, we've brought a lot of groups together. This community has so many brains in it, real smart people that have just an incredible breadth of experience, and try to bring them into groups, whether it's an advisory group on finance or an advisory group on business or an advisory group on housing or building trades, whatever, to come in and share their brain power with us, because if you get 10 people in a room that have brains, it's better than 2 people in a room that have brains. So we're going for the most input we can possibly get.
So let's get back a little bit to politics. You're a Republican, and there is Democrats and Republicans. So what do the Republicans do better than the Democrats, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm fortunate to have the Republican, conservative, independents, and there's a new line called the Opportunities line. So I love the Democratic line, but they chose not to give it to me. I try not to. I don't think there's a proposal that we have done, to tell you the truth, that has been labeled with an R attached to it. I try to cross party lines as much as possible, as far as good thought, because thought shouldn't have a label. You know, no matter how different it may be from yours, if it's out there, you should think about it. I've always said my ability is to bring disparate thought in, and hopefully that'll wind up in the end product, because it'll be a better product anyway, because there are people out there that believe that product, especially in government, believe that thought. If one were to say, how do you define yourself, I'm most worried about taxes and the impact of those taxes on our residents, people that, not all people live south of the highway. We're very, very fortunate to have an affluent community here.
Yes.
That can contribute to the tax base and do so in a very large proportion based on their tax structure, their homes and things. But at the same time, the 40% residents that are year-round residents here, 60% of our residents are part-time residents, which puts a different dynamic into governance as well. But for those 40%, it has to be affordable. And so many people were saying to me, we can't afford these tax increases. We can't afford the government to be so big. And by the way, when we came in, our budget was equal to the size of Southampton's budget. Southampton has 3 times the amount of people that live there and twice the land size, so there was something wrong. And so we were very, very responsive to making government more efficient, making government affordable, and that's very, very important, and trying to retain those that are on the brink, really, that are especially when you have this national and state and county financial disaster that's going on. We jumped on it a little early, but since we jumped on it so soon, a lot of now governments are realizing, whether it's municipal governments in Southampton or whether it's the county government, which is going into a huge deficit and debt, or the federal government, state government, that you can't do business the way you used to do it. So I think I want to thank the brains that we brought in, Teresa and Dominic, because I always say competence brings creative decision making and problem solving. I think that was it. I think we brought business discipline, and it resulted in lower taxes and trying to do, as I say often, more with less.
Yeah, that's a trick, isn't it?
Yeah, it requires a lot of cooperation.
Yes.
And you can't do it yourself. And I use the word we a lot because I can't do it. I mean, I have to have cooperation of the town board. I have to have cooperation of the managers in the departments in the town. And we need, as a community, to ensure that we are doing things right, because the bottom line is I don't want to lose any more people in this community. There are too many people who have left to go to North Carolina or South Carolina or other affordable places, and we need to ensure that we retain the community. If I retain you, I retain all the legacies and your history, and that we have to thrive on for the future. And so we have to ensure that that you're here, that the next generation is here, and generations to come can afford to stay here. That's the big challenge.
Would you say that among all the jobs you have, this is your favorite?
It's there's certainly a wonderful part about being the chief executive of a town. The town that changes from 22,000 people in the wintertime to 100,000 in the summertime, and I worry about each one of the visitors as much as I worry about the residents from a safety and security point of view. Mm-hmm. Your skin has to thicken.
I guess so,
because
yes.
You know, the wonderful thing about a democracy is everybody has an opinion that has to be weighed.
And when you're out there, you're more apt to have other people's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy at times to sit at the on the dais and listen at the podium of how you're screwing things up.
Did anybody ever throw a tomato at you?
No, I think the worst was somebody. I think the worst offensive thing that happened was somebody said, "I run the town like the Taliban," and I was with the 1st Infantry Division as a lieutenant for 2 years, and I thought that was the most offensive thing that was said to me, because it was certainly based on military service and service to this country. One never wants to hear that. So that was
can you imagine how the president feels?
No, it's very, very tough. And somebody said to me just this morning, I was parked waiting, and somebody pulled up next to me and said, "How you doing?" I said, I just have a hard time dealing with the distortions that especially during a campaign season. And the fabrications." And he said, "That's politics." And I'm not used to politics. I'm used to business where, you know, I said, somebody said, "You don't smile enough." And I said, "When was the last time Bill Gates or Jeffrey Immelt or Michael, you know, they asked you aren't smiling enough?" As a business person, you really want results. And you hope that the results are getting accomplished, and you can measure your performance based on results. And I do have to start smiling some more. But you brought it out this morning, so I have to go back to the first couple of minutes of this interview, because you certainly made me smile.
Oh, so do you think you would like to become president of the United States?
No, I would like to do 2 more years in this job and then fish.
And then and retire.
Do some more fishing.
Well, you could become a teacher.
I could, and as I said, volunteering will never stop. And I'm not alone in that. By the way, I don't know of a member of this community that if I went up and I said the community needs you, that they wouldn't respond positively and jump in. It's just that we don't do enough going up and asking. We have to get more of the community involved. We've done some good things with what I call private-public partnerships, where we couldn't afford to do something, yet the private organizations came in and they donated. An individual donated the flagpole. A contracting company in Montauk, contracting company, decided they would volunteer the time to remove the flagpole and erect the flagpole. You know, another company is involved in landscaping. Ben Krapinski's done a ton of work on the Springs Library. All this as just private donations that know that the public is in trouble financially, and they jump in. So there are a ton of people out there that have landscaped for us. You know, new restrooms. There's a restaurant in Montauk that said, "We'll take care of the landscaping of the new restrooms down there," and skate parks and things like that. And it's I just give a tremendous amount of credit to people that are being taxed, and beyond that, they say, "We're in a position that we can help you out, and let us do that." So it's pretty impressive. The town's this town, the one thing that it does extremely well, off the charts well, is respond to a crisis. And they do it every time you see somebody that
Would you say that that's because of you? They're responding to you?
No, I think this community just responds. I think the community does it.
You could have taken the credit and because
I
of
wish
me.
I was that motivating, but the community is an incredibly responsive community. You see it at every part. You see when somebody gets sick. You see when somebody gets injured. You see with a death that the community comes and responds, and you never want to take that dynamic away from a community. That's on top. I mean, we can talk about, we're very, very fortunate to have over 50% of our land protected. We're very, very fortunate to have pristine beaches and waterways. We're very, very fortunate to prioritize our seniors. But when a community is able to respond the way this community does, that is the most fortunate you can be.
It is.
It's great. And you do great stuff. This is part of the response. I mean, for you to sit here and have a weekly television show that brings in different members of the community, and allows people to say, hey, this is what it's all about. And you can't, I mean, public access, LTV, the work that it does. Seth, I'll put a plug in for him since he's directing at least.
Yes.
And it's just a great opportunity for community.
Right. I really would love to thank this LTV and Seth and Lena who jumped in, because I forgot
Lena's
to
the best. She's jumping in all the time.
Yes, because I forgot to call my director, Lee Davis, to come. And I don't know how, because I usually remember. No, I'm only...
Well, you were up early this morning.
Yes, I was. And, well, it's been such a pleasure
It's
to
wonderful.
wake up
I
this
love this
morning
opportunity to come
in and have this chat with you. It's long overdue. But they used to say it's better late than never. Is that the saying?
Well, the best things are worth waiting for.
Oh.
How about that?
Yes.
I don't know if that was said or not, but it certainly is true here. So thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for...
and good luck to you on
you.
the election. I'm sure a lot of people were happy to listen to your views. And we'll appreciate everything. We appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you, Jude. And Dominic gives you his best as well.
Oh, say hello to Dum Dum.
That was wonderful.
Yes.
Love me in London, love me around the world. Love me, and if by chance